Good morning and welcome again. Today we are very excited to speak to Kamesh Peri ji. He is the CEO of Celebi Delhi Cargo. Thank you, sir, for speaking to us, and
Thank
thank
you.
you very much for your participation at Air Cargo India.
It's our pleasure.
Wonderful. So we are witnessing this rising trade volumes between India and the world, rising volumes of exports, imports. If you can help us to understand the role of ground handlers in this air cargo dynamic, firstly, and secondly, what is the scale of operations of Celebi Delhi Cargo?
Yeah, so good morning and welcome to everyone who's participating at Air Cargo India. We ourselves are very delighted to be part of Air Cargo India. We've been regularly participating and it will be a pleasure for us to participate once again. So looking forward to the industry interaction and also the insights that we would get from other participants to be able to take back for our business. In terms of your question about the scale of exports imports, I think it's a lifeline for any economy. Trade and commerce is important for not just any country's economy but for the world economy, and that is something which has been there for centuries and it will continue to grow as far as the world exists. So this is something, but the only thing that will be different is the trends will be different. The use of technology, the processes and the interactions would be different. There would be different geographical pockets which would have its position of importance, and it will vary from time to time. So that would continue to happen. There will be a contribution from the sea side, and air cargo also is an important contributor to the overall trade and commerce. And we as Celebi Delhi Cargo have an important role because we are an integral part of the supply chain, domestic or it's cross-border. So we are an important player as far as the supply chain of cargo is concerned. We work on behalf of the carriers and the shippers and freight forwarders who are our indirect customers, and we ensure that the integrity of the cargo is maintained from the time it is being delivered to us till the time it is delivered by us to the aircraft for its final transportation. So we are, in the sense, the last mile and performers. After the cargo has been produced by the shippers, it's been picked up by the freight forwarders, and they do the complete for the local formalities. They deliver it to us. We do then the processing of the cargo to make sure that this is transportable and it is airworthy. And once that process is complete, keeping in mind the local regulatory requirements, may that be customs, may that be security, we do take care of all those protocols and make sure that the cargo is delivered in a manner that it is safe for air transportation and it reaches the destination in the manner it has been handed over to us.
Wonderful. And from what you have shared, sir, we see that there are various stages to your and processes in your business. We are seeing the increasing role of technology in warehouses, in air cargo,
Yes.
in the air cargo business. What is your assessment of the role of technology in India today? Is it at the scale, the level of global competence?
I think we'll have to distinguish between the role of technology in air cargo and overall. So if we look at other industries, other sectors, the role of technology is far more superior, whether that is financial services, whether it's to do with manufacturing. The use of technology is quite intense there. In the case of air cargo, it's I'm not saying that nothing has changed, but we still continue to practice as per some old situations or old practices, and this is an area which is changing from time to time. I think the most important thing that has happened is in terms of data transparency, in terms of being able to make data available to our customers in a real-time basis. So earlier it was more about a customer calling up and trying to find out where my cargo is, which flight it is going to depart, and what's happening about it in the warehouse. But now things have changed because that kind of information is available through the use of technology, and this information is also available real time, which was not the case before. So we also have last year introduced something called chatbot. So nobody has to even call us up and find out where their cargo is. They just have to interact using a WhatsApp application, and they would be able to find out exactly where their cargo is inside our warehouse, what stage of the processing it is in. That kind of a technology enabled, user friendly opportunity exists now. But there's much more that needs to be done and could be done. And the most important thing is about integrating there are different players in the air cargo business. There is the shipper, freight forwarder, the airport, the customs, the airline, the terminal operators, and similarly the same set of people on the destination side. I think what is important is if there could be one system which is able to integrate between these various stakeholders and be able to process information on a real-time basis and be able to have seamless communication across the various stakeholders. So that's an area where there's work still to be done, because at the moment the stakeholders still work in silos. But there is effort already being made to integrate. So we are now part of a air cargo community system which has been developed by the airport, and so we interact with them. They interact with the trade. We are also able to interact with the airlines, and we are able to interact with customs. So it's a bit still in fragmented stage, but the real desire would be to make sure that everybody is talking to each other, and the exchange of information is very seamless, and it's something that is available real time between the various stakeholders of the business. So I think there is still some work to be done. And one other thing which is important is to make sure that we keep reducing paper, because our business, our operation still uses a lot of paper, which is unfortunate because it can be easily substituted, but it means that different people have to come together, come up with a common application, common platform through which they are able to exchange message and they are able to eliminate paper. So there's work taking place. There are different initiatives being taken by different stakeholders. We on our part are also doing quite a bit to see how we can reduce paper and bring in technology to substitute it. In 2022, again, we had something called ECSD, which is Cargo Security Declaration, which used to be filled in by paper. But we now have a method of having this process electronically, and we are able to communicate this information. We receive the information in an electronic form from the freight forwarders. We are able to process it, and we are able to communicate through an electronic form to the carriers. So we've been able to cut down on paper. And there are many such initiatives which still need to be done. But I guess it's a work in progress, and we are looking at these smaller initiatives from our side.
It's very interesting, this realistic assessment of the role of technology that you have shared. And you used a very interesting word. You said community. Air Cargo is a community of multiple stakeholders.
Yeah.
At Air Cargo India, it is our responsibility and our contribution to bring this community together, to bring all the stakeholders together. Throughout the years of your participation with Air Cargo India, how have you seen this platform adding value to your business?
I think what it does is, first and foremost, I think Air Cargo India is one of the premium events as far as air cargo events in the country is concerned. So for that reason, we make sure that we are there. We participate not just in terms of a physical form, but we also make sure that we are showcasing our abilities and our capabilities, and we set up a booth for that reason to be able to showcase what we do, what we can do, and we use it as a platform to also interact with the industry folks to see what they are planning, what they are thinking about, and how we can collaborate with them for their requirements of the future, and how in the process we will also be able to develop our own internal skill sets to be able to not just improve what we do, but also to make sure that we are able to meet the expectations of our customers in the future. What it also does is it brings stakeholders from various parts of the business, and that's something which we have seen on a regular basis. We also see international participation, so that is also important to see what players outside the country are also thinking about what we do and what they do, and how they can try and bring some good ideas into our system. It's not that we don't participate in other international events, but it's always good to have these international players coming into India and talking about improvements and changes from an Indian context, which is very relevant and which is very important for us. So while things can happen, let's say in Amsterdam, in Singapore, but it may not necessarily be the same in India, because our operating environment is a bit different. So the important thing is to see what international practices, changes that are taking place can be adopted, and how we are able to at the same time make sure that the Indian context in which we operate is also recognized to the extent that it is required to be.
Thank you for that feedback. Kamesh ji, just moving on to your career, you've had a long, illustrious career in the air cargo business. I think spanning close to 3 decades
Yeah.
or over 3 decades. The air cargo business has changed drastically from the time you started till today. What keeps you motivated to be in this business? What brings you to work every day? If you can share some of your passion with us.
First and foremost, it's a business that I have spent a lot of time, and not just at one location but around the world. So I was fortunate enough to start my career in Delhi 30 odd years back, and had the opportunity to travel around the world, work in various locations, and gain a lot of international experience. And then I decided to come back, after spending almost 18 odd years, because it was a time when things were happening in India, things were emerging, and there were opportunities coming up with the greenfield airports, and privatization of cargo business was taking place. So I made the decision of coming back to India. To answer your question, what has changed? I would say, cargo is still the same. It's accepted, it's handled, it is flown, and it is delivered on the other end. So from a basic process, nothing has changed. It's just that the speed and efficiency with which things are done now is definitely much better. The volumes have definitely grown up many-fold compared to what it used to be 3 decades back. The network is much more wider. There are more players with more modern aircraft, with more greater capacity than used to be there in the past. And in terms of safety protocol standards and security requirements, things have evolved to the better of the business. And what is important for us is to recognize that we operate in a very dynamic and in a very fluid environment. And the business that we are in has got a direct correlation to what happens around us, especially the geopolitical factors play an important role in the economies of the world, in the trade and commerce, and that has a direct impact on air cargo. So we are not insulated from all these geopolitical events. So anything that happens out has a direct or indirect impact on what we do. Things were different 3 decades back. The economic, the geopolitical situation was different. Today, it's much more different. And the good thing about air cargo is it's one business which is able to adapt, and it's very resilient in terms of the changing requirements. And that's something that we've been able to continuously do as an industry, and deal with several challenges, several issues, and be able to adapt to the requirements that are expected from us. Earlier, it was much more straightforward, standard. Now it's a lot more dynamic, and it's also evolving in terms of technology being used, being leveraged, the kind of fleet, the aircraft, the network, the capacity, and the type of cargo is quite different. Or I would say quite more diverse compared to what it used to be earlier. Primarily coming from the fact that India is now emerging as a large export nation. So the commodities which we used to be primarily imported or produced for the local market are now also being exported. So there's a difference in the product mix. So from that point of view, it's a bit different. But overall, I would say it is a standard process with adaptation to the new requirements. From whatever indicators we are seeing around the world, despite the challenges and the geopolitical issues, the air cargo business is going to globally grow at a rate of 4 to 5%. In India, it's going to be a lot more, given the fact that we are growing as one of the more stronger economies of the world. So there's a lot of development work happening in the country, and we're also considering ourselves to be an export-oriented nation. So this is going to help our export situation within the country. Thanks to the growth of e-commerce and other emerging factors, the domestic, air cargo business has grown manyfold compared to what it used to be. So it's not just about the aircrafts, private aircrafts, which are much more in number compared to what it was before, but it's also the access of the various markets within the country which are now available for a consumer at any corner of the country. So that kind of a reach and access has allowed him to source finished goods or raw materials from different parts of the country, and air cargo has done quite well to be able to meet those demand expectations. So overall growth within the country seems to be poised for a much higher rate compared to what it is on the international scene, and that's where we have a lot more bullish opportunities as far as the Indian air cargo business is concerned.
Wonderful. And thank you for that holistic perspective of the domestic and international markets. As you know, this year, Air Cargo India begins on the 14th of Feb, Valentine's
Oh, yeah.
Day. And we would like, as a veteran in the industry, we want to hear a little bit from you about your love and passion for this industry, personally and professionally. What do you love most about Air Cargo?
The thing about air cargo is, first and foremost, that's the only business that I know, because I've spent almost 3 decades here. And the sight, even after 3 decades, the sight of a 747 taking off, there can't be a better sight than that. So, there is something exciting about the business. There's something unique about the business in terms of the challenging and the different situations. So never any given point of time, a day is not the same as the day before. So it's ever changing. There are always pulls and pressures, and we are as good as our last day's performance, and every day you need to invent yourself and make sure that you're able to come up to the expectations of your customers. And and the interesting thing is, because it's air cargo, you deal with all kinds of products and all kinds of commodities. It's always quite interesting to see how you are able to provide solutions, logistic solutions, and you are an important player in it. And the other important aspect is that this business is people. It's a service business. It's people oriented, and the kind of people that we deal with, it's always fascinating to see how human emotions come into play and how that affects the day-to-day working of the individual. So a lot of my time is spent, we have almost 2,600 people working for us. So besides making sure that the cargo is being processed, handled in a safe, secure, and error-free or damage-free manner, we are also looking at the interests of our employees. We're looking at the customers. So if I look at the business as a whole, we're looking at dealing with customers on a regular basis. We're dealing with employees on a daily basis. We're looking at running a sustainable operation. We're looking at meeting the expectations of our shareholders. And the most important thing is we're making sure that we are contributing in a safe, secure manner to the overall development of air cargo business in the country. So different elements, different facets, quite dynamic, and that's what makes it very interesting and very exciting.
Thank you for sharing your passion and enthusiasm for air cargo with us. Once again, we are very excited to welcome you at Air Cargo India. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
My pleasure.
And welcome again.
Looking forward as well. I and my team would be there next month, and we're hoping it would be another great event for us to participate. Not just to share our experiences and our capabilities, but also to take back some of the new things that are being talked about, and also to see how we are able to contribute effectively as an important player of the supply chain business.
Thank you again for that.
Thank you.